It's been such an honor to be able to tell these stories, but it's also about finding your own voice and your own connection to the story as well. And I think the older I get, the more I realize how interwoven our stories are and our passions, specifically my passions and Maggie Walker's passions.
Knock 'em dead. My name is Johnny Mickens III. I was born December 26, 1946. Born in Richmond, Virginia at Community Hospital.
My name is Faith Elizabeth Walker Mickens. I go by Liza, and I was born August 8th, 1997 in Richmond, Virginia. This is my dad.
My great-grandfather and my great-grandmother, who was Armstead Walker, and he married Maggie Walker. So they had two kids, Melvin and Russell. Melvin is my grandfather. He married Ethel Robinson. They had three kids, Armstead Walker, Elizabeth Walker, and Mamie Walker. Mamie Crawford now. Mamie had two kids, Nancy and Buddy. Armstead had five. The five kids were Leigh, or Marion, the twins, Melvin and Russell, Eugenia, my mama. Elizabeth had me, and I had Mick and Liza. Well, correction, Faithy and I had Mick and Liza.
So these are the grandchildren of Maggie Walker. You have Maggie Laura, and then Mamie Evelyn in the middle. Our grandmother, his mother, Elizabeth, and then Armstead. So it's Maggie and Armstead. And Armstead was the brick contractor for the Lee Street Armory. So his family were all Masons. And the two met at church as any little couple back then would, I guess. And so then this is Melvin and Ethel and their children.
Do we still need this, you think? Okay.
Melvin and Ethel.
And then those are their children.
All of
Is
the
that
grandchildren.
the house dedication?
This is her birthday. July 15th, 1979.
And so those grandchildren are the ones pictured in that portrait we just saw, the first one.
Right,
Yep.
correct. The same four.
Yep.
And they're in the, well, different
Yeah,
positions. The
they're
ends are different.
They're flipped.
Reverse the two ends. I grew up in Jacksonville. Some great times. 1946 was just after World War II. We're waiting to go into the Korean War. The thing I loved about that time was that everything was outdoors. I mean, we had one television for the entire block. So if something good was coming on television, everybody would be at your house watching, at our house watching television, like Ed Sullivan's show. All the kids wanted to do was get outside of the house. We learned a lot on our own. We learned that they had excellent fruit in the cemetery. So we would go to the cemetery and get peaches and grapes. We rode bicycles, played football in the middle of the street. It was great. Then we came home and we were forced to study. But it was all for the good. I went to Baker Elementary School. From Baker Elementary School, I went to middle school at Graves. This is also in Jacksonville. My grandmother, Ethel Robinson, had a twin sister that lived in the neighborhood on Clay Street. And then the Maggie Walker house was just 2 blocks down the street. Aunt Hattie was still at the house, so I had relatives in the neighborhood. And it was glorious. It wasn't a lot of television. If you got to watch one show after dinner, you were doing well.
You said this is Ethel Robinson.
So she married Melvin Walker.
Got it.
And that's baby Armstead, we believe.
Makes sense.
So this is your great, the woman is your great
Grandmother.
grandmother.
Mm-hmm. She married Melvin Walker, and she is the aunt of Spotswood Robinson the third,
Nice.
who became a federal judge.
I can remember on Saturdays, all the kids, the parents gave them a quarter, packed us up and sent us to the Hippodrome Theater. For a quarter, we could get in the theater, get popcorn, a soda, and about 3 cents worth of pennies. I mean, a penny candy. We saw 2 double features, a newsreel, a chapter picture, and a comic. Everybody knew each other. The teachers lived next door to, I guess, the people that swept the streets. I mean, there was no distinction of jobs, really. I mean, everybody just lived in the same neighborhood and never thought about it. For the Civil War on, basically all of my family was from, on my mother's side of the family, was right here in Richmond, and basically have stayed here in Richmond. We could trace our family back through my grandmother's side to early 1800s with James Spriggs Payne. He left and he went back to Africa, and he was the 4th elected president of Liberia. So we can take our lineage back quite a distance. I was a school administrator. I never wanted to leave the school. The enjoyment of education, that's where the kids are. I was assistant principal at Richmond Public School, Huguenot High School. I was at Huguenot for about 13 years. Prior to Huguenot, I was at Petersburg High School, and I went to Petersburg because I was going to get my doctorate at State, and it was just across town. I was with Department of Correctional Education, which I really loved. I would say instilling in the children the need for education, setting goals and accomplishing. I got through to several because they would even come back and bring their kids to meet me after they had graduated. And also the main point was stay in school, just trying to set a good example.
My name is Faith Elizabeth Walker Mickens, better known as Liza. I was born and raised in Richmond, Virginia, and I am 25 years old, almost 26. I didn't plan at 25 to still be in Richmond, but it has been so good to be here with family and be able to carry on our family legacy. I've done a lot of public speaking on behalf of the family and about all of the great things that Maggie Walker did. So it is really special to be here in this city, continuing this legacy. My family made sure that my brother and I knew our family history early on. So every car ride, everywhere we went was a history lesson of that used to be this, and this used to be here, and we used to go here. So I've grown up just with an appreciation for history. And I think that comes at a little bit of a cost. It was really interesting growing up in a family where everyone knows who you are, even if you don't know them. So it's kind of that mindset of like, I have to be on my best behavior whenever I'm anywhere in Richmond because people know me everywhere. And so I wanted to leave just to go to school, but ended up back here just because Richmond is such a special place. But it has been, it's been such an honor to be able to tell these stories. But it's also about finding your own voice and your own connection to the story as well. And I think the older I get, the more I realize how interwoven our stories are and our passions, specifically my passions and Maggie Walker's passions. I see a lot of similarities between the work that we do, and it really is an honor. But it's also been really important to recognize that someone once told me, you have such big shoes to fill. And I'm like, no, we wear different size shoes and we wear different style shoes. I am just here to follow my own passions, and it is an honor to be able to tell her story, but I have really grown as an individual as well, which has been such a blessing. And to grow here with such an amazing support system has been really beautiful. Maggie Walker was born in 1864, so just 1 year before the end of the Civil War, in Richmond, Virginia, which at the time was the capital of the Confederacy. And her mother was a servant at the Van Loo Mansion and instilled in Maggie at a young age a hard work ethic. And Maggie went on to become the first Black woman to found, charter, and serve as president of a bank in America. And she was also the first Black woman to run for statewide office in Virginia, just 1 year after women got the right to vote. So her legacy is far-reaching in the city of Richmond as a bank president, but also as a newspaper editor and the owner of an emporium on Broad Street that really brought dignity to the Black shopping experience in a segregated city. So she is remembered through a National Historic Site in Richmond, through a International Governor's School, as well as being the first freestanding monument to a woman in the city of Richmond.
What year was this?
This was 2017, Richmond, Virginia, on Maggie Walker's birthday, July 15th.
And where is the statue located?
The statue is on Broad Street. It's actually a few blocks away from where her emporium stood, and it's known as sort of the gateway of Jackson Ward. It's actually where slaves used to be transported out to the counties, and so they would walk right down that road up to Brook Road and out to the counties. So she is overlooking her city, and as of 2020, she's one of the few monuments still standing.
We love it.
So Maggie Walker's political work is something that more recently, I have really found myself just captivated by. The fact that just 1 year after women got the right to vote, she registered hundreds of Black women, but also ran for office as the superintendent of education, which was her first job. She was first a teacher in her life, and that's something that our family has continued over the years. But I have become really involved in the political world as an advocate. I was working with Virginia in 2019 on their ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment, which was actually proposed 100 years ago in Seneca Falls, and it is still not a constitutional amendment, despite Virginia being the 38th and final state to ratify in 2020. So I was a part of that campaign, and I now am a co-founder and spokesperson of Vote Equality US, which is a nonpartisan grassroots effort to have the fully ratified 28th Amendment, our Equal Rights Amendment, published into the U.S. Constitution. So I'm continuing gender equality work and just continuing to advocate for all individuals, regardless of sex. And so it is such an incredible honor to be able to continue what she's done, but also tie it into this century and work on something that is 100 years later has still not been passed. I have one brother who is 30. There's a 5-year age difference between us. My parents had us very late in life, so we're just happy to be here. My mom was 46 when I was born. My dad was 50, so just the two of us, and we're just happy to be here. I love nostalgia as an emotion because it really can just transport you. I grew up going to William Fox Elementary School, which is where my mother was the librarian and worked for 20 years. And that school just became like a second home to me. I had to stay after for PTA meetings. I had to go before. I was there in the summer stamping out books. So I got to learn every corner of that school, and it felt like a playground, and all my friends were there. And I was so blessed to have that experience. And the magic of Strawberry Street Festival, I mean, William Fox was just such a vibrant community. And so to watch the school burn down last year was really hard for the family, but I think that it cemented, how beautiful our childhood was to have something like that was really a part of our family. And then obviously I have to say the Maggie Walker house. Going to the Maggie Walker house growing up for us was such a treat. I mean, it's so incredible to be able to walk into your great-great-grandparents' house and have it as they lived, and to see where your grandmother grew up. It really is something that's so special to our family, and we're just so lucky that the Park Service, that our relatives and the Park Service really preserved it. This is Granny, that's Nani, that's Maggie Laura, and there's Mamie. Okay, I could not find Maggie Laura earlier.
Which
So
one is Maggie Laura?
This is Maggie Laura.
Okay. And where's
That
Mamie?
little one.
There.
That little one is
Yeah.
Mamie. And then this is my maternal grandmother. And then my paternal grandmother. I'm looking so happy.
Little attitude.
Although, y'all, I realized she had probably just lost her dad and Maggie Walker like a year apart at this age.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she wasn't happy to be at some girls' camp.
You said your paternal and your maternal grandmother in this?
So that's my paternal grandmother. That's his mom.
My mother.
She's the youngest granddaughter.
That's Beth Walker, Elizabeth Walker.
She's the youngest granddaughter of Maggie Walker. And then this is my maternal grandmother,
Wow.
Faith Gnarl. Then Maggie Walker's other granddaughter, Maggie Laura, is right here. And her other granddaughter, Mamie Evelyn, is right here. So the whole family. I've got to know what camp this was. I want to learn where exactly this was taken.
Yeah.
Because it is incredible.
That everybody was there.
Everybody's in this one. Yeah.
That's because that was the only place they could go.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is my grandmother's locket given to her by her grandmother, Maggie Walker. And I need to put in photos of them. But it's so funny. My grandmother used to bite on it as a little girl. And so my mom had to take it to a jeweler. But there are still little bite marks in it. Just shows you who she was.
Also feisty.
Mm-hmm.
You have a little bit of her spirit.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I want to put that little picture of her right in here.
Yeah.
Two of my most significant events in life was first having Maggie Walker being inducted into the National Hall of Fame for Business and Industry. The acceptance speech was given by a 9-year-old boy that was her great-grandson, my son. Somebody decided that they wanted to give us a statue. And then to see my daughter unveiling here I go. Unveiling the statue sets me off. I'm like, because we're not going to do this again. But it's been good. It's been good. And I think that the city of Richmond had a lot of the responsibilities of making my kids especially different and acceptable. My legacy hopefully will be or traditions that could be passed down. Liza's famous for traditions. I've been reading towards the night before Christmas since she was born. Little things like that, Thanksgiving dinners together. We really had one going because we used to go to Washington every weekend and gather everybody around. Those are the type of things, and she is really excellent at developing legacies for me and everybody else. And it's more the human feeling than it is financial feeling. And I just want them to be proud of their family and themselves. That's it. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
It's hard when you're in a family that's so steeped in legacy. You feel like you have to continue all the work that they've done. But I agree with him. I think it is setting your own traditions, sticking to the things that make you an individual, but also make you a family unit. I think our legacy will be laughter, happiness. I think our legacy in some ways is this great city that we've seen our family affect and impact, but are also able to continue to shape. And, you know, I look forward to seeing what my kids do one day and what their kids do. I think the legacy is just allowing them to be who they are.
And have faith in them. Know that they can do. I know we put a lot of strain on them at times. You know, 9 years old, you're at the Boston Pop accepting national honor with no problems. She's right behind him, and she also was a part of the planning of the statue. You know, I guess I just told her, "Here, baby, it's yours." And, you know, you give them support, and they do it. They succeed. I'm proud.